One of the reasons why it's been very wet across the US lately, it's been extremely quiet in the Atlantic. And a lot of that energy really kind of has to go somewhere, right? I mean, if you take a look at the tropics, we've had a lot of Saharan dust that's been coming off of Africa, a ton of sinking air. And if you can see, there's not really terribly too much convection across much of the main development region, much of the Caribbean, much of the Gulf is extremely quiet out there, hardly any tropical waves. And if we look at the overall map, look at all that brown that's highlighted over water, folks. Yeah, that is sinking air, right? So when you have sinking air, you really can't produce showers and thunderstorms. You've got most of the upward rising motion air over land. And for the past 7 days, I mean, this doesn't look like July. It looks like more like May. I mean, we've had a lot of rainfall. In fact, we've had 252 different flash flood warnings across the US. So it's not been an isolated spot. It's been really across the board. Of course, we have had that devastating flooding down there in Texas, and then we had that little tropical system that went across Florida and then impacted North Carolina as a tropical storm and left all those flooding rains for them. But then we've had numerous spots in Chicago, back in Delaware, and then really across the board, we've had a good part of the lower 48 has been very wet and unsettled. And if we take a look at the big picture, kind of going forward, much of the middle part of the country has been continued unstable. We've got a lot of troughs that's heading across the middle part of the country. We've got a lot of ridging that's building out west. It's been out west, much of the Pacific Northwest, much of the desert Southwest. In fact, Phoenix hit 118 the other day, so they've been extremely hot out there. But it's been cool across the middle part of the country. That's where we've seen continued troughs, one after another, pull down these cool fronts and bringing more instability and more unsettled weather, and it's tapping into some of that abundance amount of moisture, and that's producing some of those heavier rainfall amounts. Even yesterday, parts of northern Illinois got another 4 to 5 inches of rainfall with these conveyor belt training thunderstorms. It just seems to go over the same areas. And we're going to be seeing that pattern actually continuing at least for several more days. If we take a look at the setup even for today, we've got kind of the northwest flow, right? This is typically kind of more or less what you would see in the month of June, not really in July, but that northwest flow has been continuing, and that's bringing the troughs into the middle part of the country, and that's bringing all the heavier rains and the more unsettled weather across a good part of the central plains. And there it is again. Northern Illinois gets hit yet again this afternoon, back into Iowa as well as into Missouri, northern Illinois. Those are your favorite areas, and there's more instability across the southeast and up the east coast, and they've been very wet as of late as well. And if we take a look at the water vapor imagery, even heading into the weekend, we've got a ridge of high pressure that's been dominating over much of the Four Corners regions, much of the west. That's where most of the drier sinking air has been. But we also have yet another high pressure that's locked over the southeast. But look what happens in the middle part of the country. Look at the flow off the Gulf. That's pulling all that water vapor inland, and that will spread back into Texas, back into Oklahoma, back into the Central Plains, and yes, back into Missouri, northern Illinois. Those areas are continued to remain unsettled and favorable for more showers and thunderstorms, and plus another cool shot that will be coming across the middle part of the country as we head into the weekend. So that's going to bring temperatures down 5, 10, somewhere 15 degrees below average at times. You can see on the coastal regions, that's where the ridge is, that's where the warmer air is. But in the middle part of the country, that's where most of the unsettled weather is and the cooler anomalies. And that will be bringing that cool front down further south into Oklahoma as well as into Texas during the day on Saturday, and bringing more showers and thunderstorms for them. And because of the increased rainfall amounts, the high precipitable water content in the atmosphere, yes, you could see some flash flooding again, more of isolated type nature. Not everybody gets it, obviously, but it's, where you are underneath that, you can get a deluge, so to speak, in a couple inches of rain in a very short amount of time, which has been the culprit of all this flash flooding as of late. And even if we head into Sunday, that cool front drops a little bit further south with the outflow boundary, and the more cloud cover, the more rain around. Yeah, that brings cooler anomalies, right? You got 5 to 10 degrees below average for a good part of the southern plains. Kind of very unusual for, especially as we head towards the middle part of July. But hey, anytime they can hold off the hundreds further south, they'll take it any day of the week. Because it's probably going to change, shortly. So, but overall, like I said, the wet weather continues for much of the south and across the southeast, where the unsettled weather is, and where the cool fronts will lie, and the outflow boundaries will lie, and then of course you got the drier air continuing for much of the west. And overall, between now and say Tuesday morning, yes, of course, you got the standout out west. There's not a lick of drop of rain in sight across a good part of the Pacific Northwest, California, the desert Southwest. You remain high and dry. You remain unsettled across the middle part of the country, where the cool shots are, where the northwest flow is, and the more unsettled, higher chances of flash flooding. Of course, the standouts are, northern Missouri, Iowa, back into northern Illinois, and then of course across Texas, and portions of North Texas will get more heavy rain as we head into the weekend. And then we have another standout across Florida, and as well as into the Mid-Atlantic region and the East Coast here, with more heavy rain likely unfolding for the next several days. And look at the cold shot that's coming in next week. Yeah, this is a bona fide cold shot for the middle of July, folks. I mean, if you live up there in the Dakotas and Montana, back into Wyoming, you're going to feel this in a big way. I mean, it's not going to feel like summer out there, as you got 20 degrees below average temperature anomalies coming in with this colder shot of air, if you will. It's not going to feel like summer. And those are high temperatures, folks, on Wednesday. Yeah, it's 50s, right? That's going to feel really nice, right? So, I mean, anytime you can get something like that in the middle part of the summer, I consider that fairly rare, so yeah, but enjoy it while it lasts, because it's probably not going to last. But nonetheless, we do have continuing, even look at the longer range, the middle part of the country continues to remain on the cooler side, at least further north, with more cool shots, more troughing coming in. And the low temperatures, like, again, you're really going to feel this. I mean, you can even come back into the 40s for much of the Dakotas, portions of Montana, back into Wyoming, and portions of Colorado. You're going to feel this cool shot in a big way, and it's going to be feeling really nice after you've been really warm as of late. So expect a cool down, a big cool down, if not a cold shot coming in. With, as far as below average temperature anomalies. But overall, as we head into Friday, you can see further south, that ridge that's been kind of baked over much of the desert Southwest will likely start expanding, right? So you knew it was going to be a matter of time as it starts to expand over Texas and over portions of Oklahoma and Louisiana and Arkansas. I think those areas will start to heat up, and I think those areas will start getting close to that triple digit mark. But the middle part of the country will continue to remain on the cool side. Even if we look beyond next week into the following week, from the 18th through the 25th time frame, yeah, it's kind of a repeated pattern with ridging out west. We do have the ridge building into more of Texas across the deep south, but the continued cool shots that come in from the north across the middle part of the country with more troughing, more northwest flow across a good part of the northern plains, the upper Midwest. You're going to remain on the cooler side and the wet side and the stormier side. We could be looking at some strong thunderstorms and even maybe a possible derecho type straight line wind type setups over time, especially as this ridge will start to build further south. That energy will have to go somewhere over the top. And that's typically what you look for this time of year as we have more stormier type setups further north. But you are going to be continue to remain on that cooler side, especially across the northern and upper Midwest part of the country. So guys, I appreciate you watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch my next update where I protect you before and after the storm.